Hey guys, CryptoDad here again. Thanks for joining me on the Saturday night live stream. Live from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. We'll talk about Bitcoin, we'll talk about the news, we'll talk about altcoins, going to move some crypto around for you guys, and as always, I'll do my very best to get to your questions and see if we can't troubleshoot your problems here live. So welcome. Had a bit of a scare early this morning, before I woke up, I guess. Bitcoin dropped down to around the $63,000 mark per coin, but it's since recovered quite a bit. So some of these stories that I'm going to cover or the main story I'm going to cover was before this pullback up to, I guess we're around 67,000 right now. So that's good news. I guess the world doesn't care about World War III anymore. But anyway, we're going to talk about the news. I've got some adoption stories for you, an update on what's going on with the Clarity Act. There's been some of the senators involved in the Clarity Act are making some charges against Binance, so we'll cover all of that as well. And of course, I'm going to do Q&A troubleshooting with you guys. I did a 1099 DA coverage last week where we talked about the 1099 DA tax form from Coinbase and answered some questions there. But I also posted a full-blown video this week, which has been doing pretty good and been getting quite a few questions. So if you're concerned about a 1099 DA, stick around. We're going to jump into the news. We're going to do things a little different tonight. We're going to jump into the news and then we'll do our housekeeping. So let's jump in. Well, let's see. We got to fix our screens first of all. Well, I'll tell you the story later. But needless to say, my devices have been on a little havoc stream today. But that's okay. We've recovered. So Bitcoin price drops to 63K as U.S. and Israel bomb Iran. Bitcoin faced geopolitical instability alone as a weekend move as Iran saw traditional markets closed with support still holding. Yeah, it's always funny how they launch these attacks and do these, geopolitical crazy stuff on the weekend when the markets don't have time to react. But of course, Bitcoin and crypto trade 24/7, so that can be a little barometer of geopolitical instability and doubt that's going on, fear and doubt, right? So Bitcoin targets 63,000 as U.S. President Donald Trump confirms a major bombing campaign. Trump highlights nuclear infrastructure as a key target of the joint raids with Israel. Crypto markets react alone with trading suspended until futures return. Showed price action at 63,000. Where are we at the moment? Let's see. If we could just see Bitcoin, that would be nice. Let's see what happens when we go to Bitcoin. Oh, we need to... Okay, we need to go to cryptocurrency prices. There we go. 67,110. Not bad for World War III, right? Let's get back to that main story, though. Let's cover it a little bit. Let's see. Data from TradingView showed Bitcoin at 63,000. In a video address, Donald Trump said the goal of the move was to target Iran's nuclear infrastructure, but finished by calling on Iranians to take control of the incumbent government. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take, he said. With U.S. stock market futures yet to open, crypto was alone in deciding how to react, right? And it turned out to be kind of a nothing burger, right? We had a little scare in the beginning, and now Bitcoin has pretty much bounced back to where it was before the bombing started. So Bitcoin reacted to familiar cues. All right, let's talk about the market and the charts a little bit. Bitcoin sets up potential short squeeze as funding rate plunges to 3-month low. Negative funding rates, rising open interest, and liquidations point to a crowded positioning and heightened derivatives activity. Perpetual funding rates dropped to negative 6%. matching the most negative level in 3 months, signaling aggressive short positionings as Bitcoin briefly fell to 63,000. Coin margined open interest climbed to 687,000 BTC, indicating increased participation despite the price swing. Bitcoin has already reclaimed 64,000, right? We don't have to worry too much about that. But perpetual funding rates represent the periodic payments exchanged between traders in perpetual futures market. When rates are positive, traders holding long positions pay those holding shorts. This is kind of an interesting backstory of what goes on with the futures market. When rates turn negatives, shorts pay longs. Deeply negative funding typically signals aggressive short positioning and bearish sentiment, as traders are willing to pay a premium to maintain downside bets. Meanwhile, coin margined open interest rose from 68, I can't say it, 668,000 Bitcoin to 687,000 Bitcoin in the past 24 hours. Measuring open interest in BTC terms removes the distortion caused by price swings. Rising open interest alongside negative funding suggests growing participation with an increasing share of traders positioned for further downside. That means when there's more people trying to short or willing to pay to maintain their short positions, there's more of a danger of a short squeeze on people that are betting short. So if Bitcoin were to rise, all those shorts are going to need to be covered, and that may be why we had that pop today. Of course, over on the weekend, during the weekend, the trading is thinner, so you can't really judge too much. But when price swings, they swing a lot faster on the weekends when the trading is thinner. So there must have been some short squeezing that caused the short sellers to have to buy, and that's what pulled the price up. That's my take, right? So it's the more people are shorting, the more danger of a short squeeze, which could be good for the longs if we start to go higher. This is an interesting story about Polymarket. Suspected insiders make over 1.2 million on Polymarket. Well, I mean, the evidence is circumstantial, but it seems pretty obvious to me that there was insider betting on these in Polymarket today. So check out how this plays out. 6 insiders accounts on Polymarket won about 1.2 million by predicting the U.S. would strike Iran on February 28th. The strike caused Bitcoin's price to fall and oil futures on Hyperliquid to rise over the regional conflict's consequences. Let's see here. I wanted to get into the grits of this. Oh, okay, yeah. So in a post on X, blockchain analyzer Bubble Map said most of the wallets were funded within the last 24 hours. So that tells you something. Before the attack, and bought yes shares in the U.S. strikes Iran by February 28, 2026. Market just hours before explosions were reported in Tehran and other cities. The accounts had no activity beyond these predictions. So, funded within the last 24 hours, no other predictions. Usually you'll see wallets in Polymarket have been around for a while and made lots of different bets. But when we get a brand new wallet making a brand new bet of yes, just hours before the strike, and these accounts were fresh and had no other activity, it seems like it's insider, right? The strikes followed a televised address by President Donald Trump announcing what he called major combat operations, targeting the country's missile, naval, and nuclear infrastructure. Okay, we all saw that. So 560,000 yes shares at about 10 $4.80 each, a position that paid out nearly $560,000 after the market resolved at $1. Another account bought nearly 150,000 shares at 20 cents, turning a six-figure profit. All 6 profiles were created in February, according to Polymarket data. Trading volume on February 28th contract reached nearly 90 million, part of more than 529 million wagered across related strike date markets since December. So the trades land as U.S. regulators weigh how to police insider trading activity on prediction markets. This week, rival platform Kalashi said it suspended and fined 2 users for insider trading, including a visual effects editor for Mr. Beast Games, who allegedly traded on the show's knowledge of the show's outcome. Kalashi, which is registered with the Commodities and Future Trading Commission as a designated contract market, said it has investigated about 200 cases and has more than a dozen active probes. So I guess Polymarket isn't registered with the CFTC. That might be why there's so much shenanigans going on. More recently, Polymarket traders have appeared to insider trade on a market insider trading itself. Blockchain sleuth Zach XBT last week teased that he would publish the findings of an investigation into a crypto platform, which turned out to be Axiom, whose employees he believed used non-public information to trade. Teasing the investigation was coming, however, led to the creation of a Polymarket contract on which company would be named. Some clearly knew the answer to which company was under investigation, with Look On Chain identifying 12 wallets that heavily bet on Axiom ahead of the reveal. So a lot of insider bets going on Polymarket. Interesting. Now, this last story is about the U.S. Senate Democrats asking the Treasury and the DOJ to probe Binance's illicit finance controls. 9 lawmakers asked the federal agencies to investigate the global crypto exchange after reports of potential funding channeled to terrorist groups. 9 U.S. Senate Democrats sent a letter to Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and Attorney General Pam Bondi seeking an investigation of illicit finance at Binance, following recent news reports on the topic. Many lawmakers have been directly involved in negotiations over the Senate's Digital Asset Market Clarity Act that has been stuck over several topics, including the crypto industry's illicit finance risk. So this looks to me more like the Democrats grandstanding, trying to point out illicit funding going on in the crypto market, specifically on the Binance exchange. I think it's just their way of kind of trying to hedge their bet or build up some political capital before they go into committee and vote on the Clarity Act. So basically, the Democrats are trying to hold up the Clarity Act by screaming, look at Binance, look what they're doing. They're involved in illicit activity, and they're basically holding up the Clarity Act. So they're holding up the crypto market in general, as most people would think, because a lot of people have predicted that once the Clarity Act passes, the crypto market will recover because institutional investors will have more quote-unquote clarity. But it seems like the Democrats just want to hold it up as long as they can. And I consider this grandstanding. They've been claiming that crypto is involved in illicit transactions since it's been around, In 2017, that was the big thing, was that crypto exchanges are funding terrorists and drug lords and child trafficking and everything under the sun. And they're still at it, as far as I can see. Richard Tang, Binance co-CEO, has said some of the earlier media reports were inaccurate and defamatory. A spokesman for the company didn't immediately respond to a request for comment Friday on the senator's request, which had been sent to Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and Attorney General Pam Bondi. Well, they probably aren't going to take much action in on behalf of these Democrats. But, you know, like I said, the Democrats are grandstanding and trying to win some political points as they go into hashing out the Clarity Act, right? Well, that's the headlines for tonight. I want to thank everyone for being here. Let's go ahead and greet everyone like I usually do at the beginning. I wanted to kind of let the stream roll a little bit before we took up housekeeping. I want to thank everyone that's here tonight. I really appreciate you guys being here. Andreas, Kenny was here early. Mr. Miskey, Roland King, good to have you, Roland. Simon67, crikey, uncertain times ahead. Yes, you're right. Hands Hannah 350. William Jiver, BTC is 67K. Yes, that is true. That's glad for pointing that out. I think you posted that before we went live. Simona Mooland, Gregory Wieland, E. Poston from Colorado, Christopher Tain, Positive Planets is back. Dustin and Shadow is here, gifting memberships. Mr. Education 911 was the lucky winner tonight. Gunbroker 11 is here. Paul is here. Tom Kumangi, I think he was here last week. Thank you for being here again. Circle the Wagons 304 3014. World War III drops us lower, and then we just bounce right back. Aman Belai, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, and that's it for everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here, and thank Dustin and Shadow for gifting memberships. If you've never been in the stream, we've got a little breakdown here of everything we're going to talk about. My latest videos. Now, I did that a standalone video about the 1099 DA. We talked about it last week during the stream, but I wanted to do an informational video just to kind of whet everyone's appetite and allay some of the fear and anxiety that people have when they see an IRS form in their inbox or in their mailbox, whichever way it came. It's most likely going to be in your inbox. It's not the end of the world, and it's not your final tax bill. That's the long and short of it. It's just a report of proceeds from one exchange. So if Coinbase doesn't know where you bought or what you paid for your Bitcoin or whatever crypto you liquidated, they have no way of calculating your cost basis. All they know for sure is how much crypto you sold on their platform for cash. And that's basically what a 1099 DA is. You are responsible for doing your own tax form, and you use the capital gains tax form 8949 to log your your purchase price and your selling price. You are responsible for doing all of that. The IRS is not going to send you a tax bill based on the 1099 DA. But if it's a large amount and you don't file any capital gains form and you don't claim that you sold any crypto, if you try to fly under the radar, that's not going to work, because they're going to probably send you a letter and say, hey, you need to account for these proceeds, which isn't a big deal. In a lot of cases, it's, if you had a loss, you don't even owe any tax, right? Or, you broke even, whatever. So don't be afraid of the 1099 DA. It's just informational. It is required. Coinbase does send it to the IRS and you. But, it's just grow up and deal with it. That's all there is to it. And then I did another Tangem setup video, setting up 2 card sets in one app. Tangem was offering a bunch of deals over the holidays where you could get 2 card sets. And so some of you may have kept both rather than giving a gift. But that's fine. You can manage 2 card sets in the Tangem app. So I did a video on that. Also, let's see. What are we doing here? Oh, I'm looking at this video. I'm looking over here. So those are my latest 2 videos. Check out my channel. And then we've got our sponsors. Or they don't pay me to promote their products. I get a commission if someone uses my link. So I don't want you guys to think I'm getting paid by these companies. But I do crypto, and these are companies that I own their wallets, and I've done a lot of setup video. Ledger is the #1 crypto hardware wallet out there. So, of course, I've done a lot of setup videos for Ledger, and that's why I talk about them. And they like me too. I've been working with them for years. I think my first Ledger video was in 2017. And you can use so they created this beautiful Ledger landing page for me where you can get $10 Bitcoin rebates on any of their products, even when there's no sales, right? So check that out. Also, the Trezor Safe 7 is the newest Trezor model. I highly recommend this. If you're a big fan of Trezor, I would suggest you get the Trezor Safe 7. It's their flagship device right now, and it's got this beautiful color touchscreen. Links are down in the description. Tangem is still running their Bitcoin reward program. I think it's more now. Yeah, I think now you'll get $20 in Bitcoin. I don't know why they didn't update this graphic here. It says get up to $20 in Bitcoin. So I guess perhaps if you buy more than 1 card set, you can get more than 1 Bitcoin rebate. I think that's the way it works, right? Is that what they say? Yeah. Yeah, it's just the same program. I just don't know why they changed this. It must be $10 per set. So if you buy more than 1 set, you're going to get up to 20 in Bitcoin. Also, stamp seed. If you want to store your seed phrase in a durable format, seed, waterproof, fade-proof, tear-proof. What else did I say? Freeze-proof, whatever. It's a great way to store your seed phrase. All right. And I guess that covers all our housekeeping. Oh, and I've linked all the news stories that I talked about here down below. Yeah, I was gonna tell you guys that I've been using. I have several rigs laying around. I was kind of a fanatic back in the 3 or 4 years ago when crypto was on a roll, and instead of going out and buying a fancy car or new clothes, I'm not that kind of guy. I like to buy computer equipment. That's my passion. So I was upgrading my rigs every year. Whenever a new chip would come out, I'd buy a new rig. And of course, if a new CPU comes out, they generally need a new motherboard. And so I was buying new motherboards, better memory, and I built rigs for all my kids and my wife and everything. And now I'm just I've got all these spare parts laying around that I built. I've got 2 extra rigs that are down here with me. And so I built a Debian rig, and I decided I wanted to mine some Monero, and I was working with ChatGTP, and Monero has switched from, it used to work with graphics cards, now it's only CPU mining. But I have a Threadripper, an AMD Threadripper that I was using as my production machine, and now I've upgraded to this machine. But that Threadripper is perfect for Monero mining. And so I had ChatGTP help me get it tuned up. It's really amazing how you can use ChatGTP to help you program. I mean, it gives you the code, to set up the miner, and then it gave me all the tweaks, and I would just cut and paste the output from my miner. Like I got error messages in the beginning, I would just cut and paste it into ChatGPT, and it would go, oh yeah, you need to tweak this, you need to tweak that, in order to get rid of that error message. And then it even figured how much electricity I would use using that miner. And I just want to point this out for those of you that are all salivating and saying, hey Rex, show me how to do a miner. A lot of people think that Bitcoin miner or mining for Monero or whatever, building a mining rig is like a money tree. It's not. According to the figures, and I pasted in my power bill, that particular machine that I built, running at the full tilt, running at full tilt, it would have cost $52 extra for my power bill every month once I plugged it in and ran it 24/7. And based on the price of Monero, the current price of Monero, that would only net me $48 worth of Monero, right? So it's operating at a loss. Now it helped me tweak it a little bit. It said, oh, you need to lower your threads a little bit. So we lowered the threads a little bit, and it said, that's great. You lowered your power consumption and only lost like 1.5 of your efficiency. So you're at that sweet spot where I'm kind of officially breaking even on the Monero I'm mining with the extra power that it's going to go on my power bill. So, but of course the goal is to accumulate Monero long term. But that's it. So the story is I had that thing plugged in, and it was running. It was sweet. I was so happy, everything. And then I turned on my little space heater before I go to bed. I have a little space heater I turn on down here, and blam, we blew a fuse. The whole downstairs, or most of the downstairs, went dark. So I had to go into the utility room and flip the breaker back on and bring everything back up again. And it just played havoc with all of my equipment. Some things like my camera over here on the side, it had to do with the surge protectors that I have down on the floor, and I've got like 3 of them, and I had to like flip them back off and on and do a reset, and I had to reset one of my key lights because it was like messed up. The monitors got messed up. Everything was, I have everything in such a balance here that when things go haywire, in my rig and my setup here. But the miner's still mining. That's good. And I got the Monero wallet set up, and that rig was just sitting there doing nothing, and I said, hey, I want to get this miner thing up and running. And I've got another rig over here where my wife used to work. She's moved most of her operations upstairs. So, and I had given her a rig up there that was working great, and then something flaked. Oh yeah, her hard drive went out on her M2 hard drive. So anyway, we switched some stuff, and I brought her downstairs rig upstairs, and then the one that was broken I brought down here, figured out that it was the M2 drive, threw the M2 drive away, stuck a new one in, everything's good. So I've got this other rig over here where I'll be doing some, I don't know, sky's the limit. Let's see. Let me catch up on what you guys are rapping about. Hello, everyone. I don't see. Oh, Dan is here. Oh, good. Caesar Crow. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm catching up. Guy 2X. What a crazy day. The tax videos have been great, Rex. Thank you. Thank you, Caesar. I appreciate that. I purposely offset gains from thanks to no wash rule, selling at a loss on Coinbase and Kraken, but they only show what they want to. As in, I know what I have sold at a loss that is officially realized, but they don't show it that way, however. Exchanges cannot communicate with each other. They only can calculate the difference in crypto that you buy and sell in each exchange. You have to calculate your own cost basis. That is totally correct, Dan. The video that I posted this week and the little blurb that I gave you basically says that as well. Your exchanges, I think Coinbase used to generate an 89.49, but it didn't apply if you bought and sold crypto elsewhere and had wallets and transfers and DeFi and all that stuff. So yeah, that's exactly right. The exchanges can't calculate your cost base for you. You're going to have to do that yourself. The good news is that IRS tax returns are self-reporting, right? Self-reporting means you do the best you can. You make your best good faith effort to give them an accurate accounting of what you did, right? Where you worked, the money you earned, the money you lost, and all that stuff. So it doesn't have to be perfect. But it's self-reporting, which means that you sign it. That's why you sign it, because you're attesting to the IRS that this is an accurate representation of my finances. Many people think that the taxes have to be like on the spot perfect or you're going to get in trouble. The problem with a lot of crypto capital gains is, suppose you bought that crypto back on Binance back in 2018 when we still in the US had access to Binance. Well, now we don't. Or suppose you bought your crypto on an exchange that has gone out of business and there's no way you're ever going to get the export of those transaction records. You just have to do your very best to compile that information to the best of your ability. And even if there's large chunks of the history missing, there are assumptions you are allowed to make, using tools at your disposal. Now, you don't want to go at this all alone. There are crypto tax services, and I brought those up in that video. I put links to, what did I do here? There's Coin Tracker. Well, I'll just put them over here for you guys. Coin Tracker. And they're not that expensive. I mean, I know it's kind of a bummer if you lost on crypto and now you owe taxes, but it's worth your while to use a tax service like this, because you plug in your wallets, you plug in your exchanges, and they'll calculate everything for you. And it's cheaper than, a high-end tax accountant. Let's see, we've got Coin Ledger, which is another great service that you can use, online service. We've got Coinly. So these services, like I said, you connect to their services, you plug in your wallets, you plug in your exchanges. They get all the data from all the exchanges and all the wallets that you used and transferred, and then they make sense of it. Much easier than trying to figure it out on your own. But even these aren't perfect. There are some things that they're not going to be able to determine based if there's missing information, wallets that aren't, that have that disappearing wallets. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that can happen. But you can go in there and reclassify some of the transactions yourself, or all three of these have premium services where you can pay a little more with a little higher tier, and you can get some one-on-one tech support from them. And I believe there's higher tiers. There's like enhanced support, and then there's like premium support. So you've got options. You don't have to worry. I totally get where you're coming from, Caesar. It's overwhelming, but there is help. And and I don't know your situation, but I think Dan put it best. You can't just hope that the two exchanges are going to like put their heads together and figure out, your cost basis for you. They're not. All they do is report proceeds, and that's it. And that they generate that form, they send it to you, they send it to the IRS. That form really doesn't really need to be plugged into your this software. I mean, they do have, I believe, Coin Tracker. Let me see if I can. I can't get back here, but Coin Tracker has a. I thought that they had something. Yeah, here 29 DA 1099 DA adjustments, but they're basically just using. And as you can see, all of these are very inaccurate because none of these. I've just been doing demos in these, and they just. I'm just plugging in some of my wallets. So, all of these figures are highly inaccurate. I'm not using these to do my taxes. It's not done, right? So don't look at these and go, oh, look, Rex is, no. This is just partial information. But they do have some 1099, but it's just informational, really. What they might do is based on all of your information that you've plugged in, all your wallets and all your other exchanges, they'll compare that to that 1099 from Coinbase or whoever it comes from and try to reconcile it the best they can. But yeah. Now, and of course, if you can afford one, you can get a real tax accountant that's crypto savvy, like the Crypto Tax Girl, who is pretty famous. I think she was even involved. She was on our show a couple years ago. Great person. And she runs this firm that they specialize in crypto taxes. And they're way bogged down. And, this is pretty high-end stuff. But there's probably in your local neighborhood somebody that's crypto savvy that does taxes. So, yeah, so don't freak out. Thanks. They seem to individually have been incorrect net cost basis on the other trading exchanges. DeFi, I've already pulled logs. CBS, all AI has done great. Good, Caesar. Good to hear. Rex, have you looked into OpenClaw and how you can essentially prompt it to use other AI agents to work for you and cross-reference data, streamline your process, etc.? It's quite amazing. Caesar, I did look into that actually, and was actually going to use that other rig I was telling you about to run OpenClaw. It's a Debian rig. And then I discovered that my question was, hey, how do I connect? It said, oh, you want to isolate that box. You don't want it to have any, you don't want it to be connected to anything important, is what it said. And I said, well, yeah, but how do I get it to connect to my AI if I'm not allowed to import my, my Google account so that I can log into my OpenAI account? And it said, oh, no, you don't log into your OpenAI account. You use APIs. And an API is like a separate connection that you make to like OpenAI, or I don't know, the Gemini probably has APIs too. And you pay for that separately. So it's like, hey, I'm paying $20 a month for my ChatGTP. But now I'm going to have to pay the API fee every time I do an operation. And I had the ChatGTP estimate how much it might cost me to run this OpenClaw server thing. And it said, well, it could go anywhere from, 60 to 100, maybe from 100 to 300, depending on, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here. I don't really want to have to pay another, even $60 more a month is not something I'm willing to do. And so basically I decided that instead of running OpenClaw to coordinate all my data and my AI stuff, I'm just going to use my $20 a month subscription to do what I need to do, which is I don't need like an always on OpenClaw server. So I'm just going to, if it turns out I might need to do it, that's one thing. One thing that I was particularly, one of the projects I had on my plate was auto deleting spam in my YouTube comments. It's really tedious, and but even the ChatGTP was saying, well, you don't want to give it access to your YouTube account. Something could go wrong. Something malicious could happen, blah, blah. So it kind of made me take a step back. So I'd be interested to know, Caesar. I don't know if you've ever sent me an email before, but basically I went back and forth with my personal AI account, and we came to the conclusion that I didn't really need an always-on AI backend server running OpenClaw. That I had the tools that I needed to, do the things that I wanted to do on a not always-on basis, right? I didn't need an always-on AI. The stuff that I was interested in could be done, just using my existing $20 a month AI account. And if it turns out to be more, then if I need more, then maybe I could upgrade to OpenClaw. But I was really interested. I wanted to install it and see what it did and blah, blah, blah. But I got so many warnings from my AI about it. So, well, you have to be careful. There have been a lot of people complaining about, malicious stuff going on and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I could be wrong, but I decided not to use OpenClaw for the time being. Let's see. That was my concern as well. My understanding is you give it access. I need to learn this, but the API login information, credit cards, etc., is part of it. Yeah, but looks to be multiple accounts. Yeah, when I've done the API thing before, I was playing around with API and programming early on, back in like when AI first came out, back in 23 and 24, and I was using it for, I forget what I was using it for, but yeah, when you sign up for an API, you have to log in to OpenAI and set up, an API account, and they ask you for a credit card, and you can set a limit on it. You can set like, hey, don't bill me more than $100 a month, and after $100, just cut it, or after 50, just cut it. And so I worked with that for a little while, but I was just playing around. But I definitely wouldn't want like a $300 API bill. And I've heard some like businesses and stuff say that their API bills with, the AI are just astronomical. So, I'd rather work with the unlimited account that I get for $20. So enough about AI, guys. I was curious if you guys had any questions about moving crypto around or anything like that. Let me see. I've got my phone. I think I've got my phone set up here. Yeah. So maybe we could go over here. Yeah. And we can play around a little bit with my cards. I did a video on setting up a card set, multiple card sets, right? So you have 3 Tangem cards. You basically set them up, and you can use 2 as backups and 1 as your primary. They're interchangeable. And so then you have 2 primary cards that you can work with. And whoops, I use Face ID. So I've got this wallet here. This is the Bitcoin wallet. Is this? Oh, I must have banged that camera. Yeah. It was all havoc back there when I was playing around with cables and stuff. And so you can just swipe between the wallets. Now this is a different card set. That's this card set. This is my original Tangem card. And a lot of people say that they're afraid to use the Tangem card. Something might happen, and so they use the seed phrase option on the Tangem. Now, the Tangem card has a chip in there, and your phone will activate the random generation of a private key. But that all happens on the card, and the key never leaves the card. However, if you use the seed phrase option, because the Tangem card does not have a screen, it has to send the seed phrase to your phone. Now, it's reasonably secure, but there's always a possibility of, if you have a malicious app, it could steal your seed phrase. So that's why it's a very, very small risk surface, very small. But I prefer their original intention, which was the user never sees the seed phrase. That's the whole point of Tangem, is that it makes it easier and quicker to set up, and it protects the user against himself. Because the number one way people lose crypto is by mismanaging their seed phrase. The seed phrase are the 12 or 24 words that you write down as a backup. Yeah, it's great. If you lose all three cards, then yes, having that seed phrase would get your crypto protected. But we're all adults here. If you buy a Tangem card set, then you take on the responsibility to make sure you don't lose your cards. You know, I don't know why it is we live in such a cushy culture where, you know, we're so quick to lose things, or that's your first reaction. Well, what if I lose them? I'm like, it sounds like you're planning on losing them, so don't lose them. I guess the point I was trying to make is that I've had this card set here. This is one of the original card sets before they made the black and the stealth and all these colorful card sets. This was the original Tangem card, and it works fine. It's been working for 3 or 4 years now, maybe more. And I've got the other two backups. I know where they are. I haven't lost them. So seedless option is is my way to go. If you feel like you need a seed phrase, then my suggestion is use a more robust type of wallet. Use a Ledger Nano S Plus, which is only $59. It's even cheaper than the Tangem cards. So if you just don't trust these cards, then maybe it's not for you. Get a Ledger Nano S Plus and write down your seed phrase, right? But the Tangem card is so easy to use, and people get tricked into revealing their seed phrase. That can't happen with Tangem. So it's a perfect card for beginners. That's my take on Tangem. There's a couple more questions here. Yeah. And so having multiple card sets is great. You can swipe between them. And then this last one over here is the Tangem ring. So yeah, I can manage all four of these in the one Tangem app, right? So I've got the ring set, I've got the original set, I've got the Bitcoin commemorative card, and then I've got the normal black card. They also make stealth cards, which are completely blank. I got a set of those somewhere. But yeah, you can have multiple sets, and don't lose your cards. And it's just a great, easy, safe way to manage crypto. That's my take on Tangem. I really like them. Whoops, let me get this here. There we go. Let's see. I want to catch up. Am I in the right spot here? Yeah. Fred was cooking peppers and eggs. Good for you, Fred. That sounds good. That's funny. Last night, my wife was cooking some veggies, sauteing veggies, we had some leftover steak, and she was cooking that. And I told her, you know what? I wanted to have a can of chili with buttered crackers. That's like comfort food for me. And so that's what I had for dinner. And she was just shaking her head at me. And then today we were at the grocery store, and I said, you know what? I'm going to like try to stick to like real food and stop eating stuff out of a can. And so I'm going to we were at the grocery store. I bought some extra veggies, cauliflower and broccoli and, some mixed veggies and stuff. And I said, the next time you see me staring at the wall and I don't know, I say I'm bored, I don't know what to do, or I want something to eat, you tell her, I said, tell me to eat vegetables or eat fruit. And then she just looks at me and goes, and I'm going to, I will. And if you say you're going to eat, chili out of a can, then I'm going to tell you that what you told me today in the grocery store is that not to eat like canned food. So bit by bit, I'm 62. I'll be 63 in March on the 22nd. And I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I've eliminated caffeine from my routine. I just do herbal tea now. I did a pretty good job of eliminating sugar. I don't eat cookies, candy, cakes, pies. Anything that's like just like big time sugar. You can't avoid sugar because it's in everything. But I eat fruit has sugar, but I eat fruit. So yeah, but like my comfort food of canned chili, probably not that healthy for you, but at least there's not much sugar in there. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the point, Fred, is that we should eat less processed food. My daughter is pretty good at whipping something up for herself. She likes to make fried rice, and she'll take some rice and then mix in some eggs and soy sauce and some veggies and stuff. So my daughter's 16. She'll be 17 in Wednesday. That's shocking, isn't it? She's a good little cook in her own right. Lure Tech. How can I find out about the SID code from the card if I decide to back up the SID code? Not sure what you mean about SID code. Are you talking about Tangem? You're talking about the Tangem SID code? I'm not even sure what that is, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of the SID code. Security ID on the Tangem card. It's generated inside the secure chip, never leaves the card. Yeah, the internal SID is not meant to be shown. I get this a lot from people. A lot of people, like even with Ledger, they'll say, how can I see the private key? I want to see the private key. It's not meant to be seen by you. The backup for the Tangem is the card, and that's it. If you're that concerned about backups, then I would say you probably should move to a more flexible wallet, like a Trezor or a Ledger. If you buy Tangem, you should rely on their backups. I know, it's like no one wants to accept the fact that it comes with 2 backups and that's it. They're so, I don't think about it. I don't know why everyone, it's like, well, what if I lose it? I mean, do you say that when like if your grandfather gave you a gold coin, would you say, gee, Grandpa, thanks for the gold coin, but what if I lose it? Or if you give your wife a diamond engagement, or you give your fiance an engagement ring, she goes, oh, that's beautiful. What if I lose it? I mean, yeah, I know it has all your crypto on there, but it has a built-in backup system. That CID or SID is internal. It's not, you're not supposed to see it. That's the point. The way to back it up is when you initialize the card set, you get 2 backup cards. Anyway, I'm just beating a dead horse here. And what if why? See, you just won't stop, will you? What if I lose it? Well, then don't lose it. Oh my gosh. All right. So if you have the ring and you lose the ring, then you'll have to buy another ring, right? But your backup cards will allow you to move that crypto to a new ring. If you have, I don't believe you can take a Tangem ring and add it to the backup cards. But as I mentioned earlier, your ring set comes with a ring and 2 backup cards. So if you lose your ring, then you buy a new ring set. You can't just buy a new ring and pair it up with these existing backups. It won't work like that. But you still have access to the crypto that you have in this app, in the wallet, right? The ring and the 2 backup cards are interchangeable. So if you lose your ring, then you use one of your backup cards to move that crypto to a different wallet, right? You can have multiple wallets, right? So you get a new ring card set, you initialize that set empty, and then you transfer the crypto from the old ring using one of your backup cards to the new set. That's what happens if you lose your ring. If you have a regular card set and you lose one card, then you can use your backups. If you lose one more card, like you've lost 2 cards in the set and you only have your backup card, then it's time to buy a brand new set and transfer the crypto into the new set so that you'll have a full 3 card set. You cannot add cards to an existing set because it violates the whole principle that Tangem is built behind, that the cards never, the private key never leaves the cards. If you could just take one of your cards and transfer that key to new cards, then the key would be leaving the card, right? So that's the way the Tangem system works. Yeah. And my advice is don't lose it. I don't know why are people so obsessed with they're going to lose it. Don't lose it. Like I said, I've had that card for 5 years, never lost it. And I've had it in my wallet. I've carried it on, went on vacation with it. I got a lot of stuff that I don't lose. Haven't lost my car keys. And I bought my car almost 6 years ago. I still have the original set of keys. I've never lost one of my iPhones, ever. Never. I've dropped it and cracked it, but I've never lost it. So, I don't know. What are people doing to lose stuff? I don't know. Don't use the ring or the cards. Then, my goodness, people, why is it? Why there are so many different types of hardware wallets. I understand. Thanks for the explanation. Yeah, you got it. I don't mean to bag on you. I understand I get it. I don't know how much crypto you put on that ring, but if it's $100,000 worth of crypto, I totally get why you're worried that you might lose the ring. But, AI is saying there's one place you can put the ring, but how you might want to put a string on it. Yeah. Well, the ring, it's possible to lose the ring more so than the cards, I guess. I've had my wedding ring on for almost 20 years now. Haven't lost that yet. But I never take it off. I don't take it off when I take a shower or anything. So, I could lose my hand, I guess, in a farming accident. My wife takes her rings off sometimes and, changes them out, but it's possible that we could get robbed when she's wearing a different ring or whatever. That's possible, but yeah, I don't know. Someone is important enough to you won't lose it. Yeah, something. Yeah, I totally agree. A1 Rising. Yeah. Well, yeah, we talked about Tangem tonight and multiple card sets and sort of the philosophy behind Tangem. I think it's a pretty robust system. But there are many people that don't, and that is why Tangem added the seed phrase option, which I don't use and I don't agree with. But there were so many people, bagging on Tangem for, having such a shaky system where, there's only 3 cards, and if you lose them all, your crypto's gone. And people just couldn't accept that. They couldn't wrap their head around it. So Tangem added the seed phrase option. But yeah, I think the seedless option is the best way to use Tangem. And, but just come up with a system like I mentioned. You lose 1 card, use the backup. Lose a second card, use that last backup to, transfer to a new set. Because if you've managed to lose 2 cards, you're on shaky ground, right? But there are ways to work within their system and keep your crypto safe and secure. And the whole, if Tangem goes out of business, I'm going to lose all my crypto. No. If Tangem goes out of business, first of all, you'll have advance warning. And even if Tangem goes out of business overnight, their app will still work. You can still move your crypto somewhere else. Tangem is not going out of business, but even if they did, you have options. Their app is open source. The crypto is not stuck on their card. You can move it to a different wallet. So there's always fail-safes in that system. But anyway, married people walk around with expensive rings every day. While all of a sudden are people afraid of having money on a ring? Yeah. People walk around with Rolex watches. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. So, yeah, don't lose it. So I hope some of the stuff we talked about tonight helped you kind of wrap your head around the Tangem system. I hope that I helped clear up any confusion about calculating your cost basis not using the 1099. Understanding that the 1099 is just informational. It's not your tax bill, and that you're responsible for your tax bill. And I think the most important thing I wanted to drive home is that the IRS tax preparation or the IRS tax return is self-reporting, which means I, Rex Knisely, to verify or certify or swear that this tax return is true to the best of my ability. And that's why you sign it. That's why you have to sign your tax return, because that's you claiming that, you're standing behind it. And most of the time the IRS goes, okay, we're going to agree with what he says. He paid his taxes. That's the end of it. If there's something out of the ordinary, then you get audited. But that doesn't mean they come and throw you in jail right away. You go through the audit, and then they determine, whether you were telling the truth or not. I have a little story connected to that, which is kind of interesting. When I was I'm just going to put this down here. I'm just going to go over here since we're talking. So this relates to the fact that the IRS form is self-reporting, which means raise your right hand. Is everything on your tax form true? Yes. That's how it works. When I was in Indonesia, I'd been there for a couple years teaching English and wanted to get married to my wife. The Indonesian government, in order to get all the licenses and the marriage certificate and everything that we needed in Indonesia, the Indonesian government required me to prove that I was not already married, right? Well, how did I prove that? Well, I had to go down to the American embassy and go to the, I forget what he's called. It's the name, the I want to say attaché, but that's not it. The guy down at the U.S. Embassy. And I had to, he had this form. And he said, okay, Rex, raise your right hand and say, I Rex Knisely, swear that I am not married, basically. And I probably had to say as a U.S. citizen or whatever I said. I had to raise my right hand and swear that I was telling the truth to the U.S. Embassy. And then the U.S. Embassy, boom, 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 stamped my form. And I gave that to the Indonesian government to get our marriage license. So basically, the only proof that the Indonesian government required was for me to go down and swear to my own government that I was not married. So I found that interesting, that was my proof that I was willing to swear to my own government, that what I was saying was true, that I wasn't married at the time. So it's interesting how self-reporting works, and how and when you go to court, you raise your right hand, say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if you're caught lying, then you get charged with, there's a word for that too. I can't think of it right now. Perjury. Yeah. Same with a tax form. You raise your right hand, you sign it, and you say, this is me giving you my best good faith effort of all my finances. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do your best to get all the information that you need to, account for all of your gains and losses and your income and your deductions and all that stuff. So don't worry so much about the 1099 DA. It's not the end all be all of, your crypto. And many of the people in the comments of my 1099 DA video, mention that, I had this problem or I had that problem, but I worked it out, So there were a lot of people that were really scared, that they got this 1099 and it had 20,000 in proceeds. But a lot of people were like, well, as it turns out, I had a loss, and I could prove it. And so, I didn't owe anything. I had a loss. So it's nothing to be afraid of, just like the fear of losing your Tangem cards, Anyway, thanks everyone for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. I always love being here with you guys on a Saturday night. And I love that you guys like to spend your Saturday evening with me. I really appreciate it. I hope I answered all your questions. If I didn't answer your question, please shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to troubleshoot with you through email. I am available for private consulting at a price, but a lot of people that come to me and say, I need consulting, I say, look, how about you just tell me just give me your question in an email and I'll do my best to answer it. And, and I've had people where I've had to go back and forth like 10 times in order to solve their problem, but I did, for free. So please shoot me an email if you've got an issue or a problem, and I'll help you with it. And if you need one-on-one hand-holding, we can talk about that. But I can solve many problems. Just shoot me an email and let's get the ball rolling. There's no reason to be worried about crypto, right? There's just play it naturally. It's not rocket science. Well, it's complicated, but it's definitely not rocket science, and I can help you figure it out. Just shoot me an email. thecryptodad@gmail.com. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, I would appreciate it. When you subscribe, there's a little bell that you can click that will allow you to be alerted whenever I post new content. I'll be here again, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me again for the live stream from Michigan, where you can throw out questions, and I'll do my very best to get them answered. Hope to see you there. Good night, everybody. Shoot me an email, leortech, thecryptodad@gmail.com. My email is in the description, down at the bottom. I'd love to hear